we never regain. Stuck in a losing game, we pass the blame. Cycle starts again, we break with a chance to remake. It's up of our mistakes. We follow the lead, but it leads to nothing when nothing is left to claim. We fell addicted to fame and promise of grandeur, but promises never stain. They say you can only get better from here. They say there's plenty more to go. All the answers turn to words that disengage. A will surrenders, letting our future start to fade away. All the answers turn to
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Restoring the Roar. I am your host, Alex Loosemore. Before I hop into the actual show, I'd like to remind you that this show is sponsored by Zagnif Apparel, so you can use the code word FOOBS15 at checkout and get a 15% discount on select items. Go to etsy.com/shop/Zagnif Apparel Design. They've got lots of great stuff. I know Andrew had a bunch of the stuff that we got and showed it off on the show on Friday, so make sure to go take a look. I'm definitely going to go get some when I get paid here this week. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So, obviously, free agency happened this week, so I'm going to go over the signings that we had. I'll talk my weekly article with free agency being so freaking insane. The article will go up tomorrow. It'll be a little bit later than normal, but it'll be up there tomorrow. It's a post-combine mock draft. So, obviously, some of the stuff will have changed due to free agency, although mine actually ended up pretty decent. I think it's more realistic now than it was when I actually wrote it. And then with the last $8 to $10 million that we have, I believe that's how much we have left. Just some players who I think the Lions will try, or who I think they should try and target. Let's look at the comments here. Tam Campbell, before the show even started, said I'm first to roar. Sid, thank you for tuning in. Says first, hate your Lions, by the way. Yeah, thank you for Cameron Sutton. I'll get to him in a little bit, but very excited about that signing. I think he could do great things for us. Dan Campbell again says Bears trying to buy the division, not going to happen. Lions will build a division winner, baby. Yeah, the Bears are doing a phenomenal job. I like a lot of what they're doing, and they're going to be dangerous this year. I really think so. This is a lot of what I saw in the Lions at the beginning of this rebuild. So they're going into year 2 now, which would have been last year for us. So I see a lot of the same. I think they compete for a playoff spot. Whether or not they actually get it, who knows? The NFC seems to be absolutely wide open this year. I think it's more wide open than it was last year. So we'll see what happens there. Don't know who this is. Thank you for tuning in, though. Says, what's up, Alex? I'm going to assume it's Sean. It typically is. Yeah, welcome to Restoring the Roar, as always. And yeah, let's get right into free agency. So we'll start with the one I was just talking about. So I'm going to do thoughts and grades on it. So Cameron Sutton signed a 3-year, $33 million contract. $22.5 million is guaranteed. I love the signing. As you can see, I gave it an A-. He's 28, so he's kind of right into the middle or beginning of his prime years. very solid man cover corner. Did very well in Pittsburgh. I very, very excited about it. Yeah, it is Sean. Ben said, but did the Bears do as good a job as Texas A&M Corpus Christi did tonight against Southeast Missouri State? I don't know. I know Michigan won. That's all I know. Yeah, Cameron Sutton. I think him pairing with Okudah and the guy I'm going to talk about next kind of turns corner from our biggest weakness to one of our strengths. I think especially if you add another corner in the draft. I don't think first round now. I think second round, maybe third. But you're still very solid at the cornerback position with him and Emmanuel Moseley from the 49ers, a 1-year, $6 million contract. I gave it a B just because he was playing extremely well for San Fran last year and then he tore his ACL. Now, it all sounds like the beginning of training camp is questionable, but it all sounds like there's almost no way he doesn't start week 1. So I think it's big. And it's a 1-year risk it deal. The Lions love doing these. Giving the players their chance to kind of up their market for the next year. And obviously corner's a spot where we desperately needed somebody. So I'm very happy with the Moseley signing personally. Yeah, and this is it exactly. If Moseley can be healthy and back to what he was at the beginning of last year, I absolutely freaking love this signing. Him, Sutton, Okudah, and whatever younger guy we bring in, because the main thing is Okudah's on the last year of his deal. Emmanuel Moseley's obviously only on a 1-year deal. So I do still think you bring in a corner to kind of learn under these guys, let him get his feet wet, and then next year he hops right in. But yeah, phenomenal signing. Great start to free agency in the back defensive backfield. We brought back defensive tackle Isaiah Buggs. 2 years, up to $6 million. I believe somewhere around 3 or 4 million is guaranteed, but I don't know for sure, so I didn't put it in. I gave it a B minus. He had his best year by far this past year, but in the last 3-4 years of his career before that, he had 17 starts total. He's a D tackle, so the stats, I didn't put them up because there aren't really any. He got tackles, a few tackles for loss, that kind of stuff, but he does all the stuff that shows up on tape, but not on the stat sheet. So, solid guy. I think he competes for that other starting spot with Levi Onwuzurike, probably a draft pick, maybe one more guy that they bring in, who knows. But I love that they're targeting the defense early and often. Of the 8 guys that we have signed, 6 of them are on defense. So I absolutely love that. And yeah, Sean, I couldn't agree more. The secondary is shaping up nicely. Safety was solid. And if we get Tracy Walker back to what he was off that Achilles tear, which worries me a little bit, but if he comes back and he's healthy, him and Kirby Joseph is a very solid safety duo. We could still bring back Sean Elliott. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think he priced himself out of Detroit. And I think we maybe draft a safety 3rd, 4th, 5th round, kind of where Brad Holmes really does his magic there. Yeah, I love what they're doing overall. And yeah, I'm so excited for Dre Bly to get to work with these guys. Especially Okudah, Sutton, Moseley. Like, I think that's an amazing coach for these guys. My worst grade of the entire free agency so far, linebacker Alex Anzalone, 3 years, up to $18.5 million. I gave it a C+. I'm not big on Anzalone. I wasn't a huge fan of his. He's our leading tackler from last year, so he's good in the run game. He is brutal in pass coverage, though. Now, hopefully that's where Malcolm Rodriguez and potentially Derek Barnes or a draft pick or someone like that can kind of take over in that pass coverage. Because Anzalone is not good at it. And he was the best player on historically one of the worst defenses last year. So he's got a lot to prove, in my opinion. But I think it's an okay signing. That's why it's still at a C+, but I'm not huge on it, to be honest. Dan Campbell says I'm an ankle biter, but this new guy we brought in will be a Bugs biter. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I loved Isaiah Bugs last year. I thought he stepped up huge and played very well alongside Aleem McNeil. But the Lions can still afford to get quite a bit better at that defensive tackle position beside McNeil. McNeil's a solid nose tackle, but they need a guy that can kind of push the pocket, more affect the pass game than the run game, because McNeil's got the running game solid. And then a couple of these rotational players for the last four here. Offensive tackle Matt Nelson. Don't know what the contract details are, but I still gave it a B. He started 11 games in 2019, I believe it is. Didn't give up a single sack, didn't have a single penalty, gave up like 2-3 sacks. He's been a rotational guy the last few years. Plays that swing tackle for us. He's been very solid, and I know he wouldn't have came for that much because they weren't even going to tender him as a restricted free agent. So it's obviously a cheap deal here. I love what Matt Nelson did, so I'm very happy to have him back. Dan Campbell, don't worry, Alex. Aaron Glenn will get our linebackers coach to shape up Alex Anzalone. Besides, his name is Alex. He should be your favorite player. No, it don't work like that. I hope that Glenn and linebackers coach Kelvin Shepard can work on his pass coverage, because yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. So I really hope that they can get that figured out, but we'll have to wait and see. One of my favorite signings, actually, I know the grade doesn't exactly show it, but John Kaminsky, the defensive lineman, had a breakout year last year. 2 years, $8.5 million. 4 of that is guaranteed. I wasn't big on the $4 million a year. I thought he should have been cheaper than that, but he's a solid rotational player, and if that's what it took to keep him, I'm very okay with it. Jalen, are you sure you're very happy about that? Yes, I am. Another depth signing here, running back Craig Reynolds. Again, contract details unknown. A lot of the major sites don't actually have it posted yet, but all the Lions reporters have it posted up, so I'm rolling with it, putting it on here. I gave it a B again. Until I see what the contract details are, if I like these players are sitting at B minus, something like that. He's been solid every time he sees action on the field. I think it was not this past season, but the season before, he was one of our only running backs to play in when we went to Denver, and he almost got 100 yards. So I love him behind this offensive line. He's just been kind of trapped behind Jamal and DeAndre Swift and now Justin Jackson. So we'll see where he ends up there. And then the last signing here is defensive back Will Harris. I was going back and forth between B minus, C plus, because he was up and down last year. He finished really strong, but to start the season, he was quite weak. Now he'll be a depth guy to give somebody a breather every now and then. But he's super versatile. He came into the NFL as a safety, could move back to safety for us. Was really good in the slot at that nickel corner. He'll compete there. I don't like him as much outside, even though he's more built for it at 6'1". But he just fits better as a safety or in the slot. If they get him back to there, I love what he'll bring, but we'll see what happens there. So Ben to answer this one, he says from 1 to 10 confidence level that Lions re-signed Jamal Williams. If you would have asked me Monday right before free agency opened, it was a 10. I thought there was no way he wasn't coming back. I think now I'm sitting closer to a 7, maybe a 6. I do still think he comes back, but it sounds like there's a lot of interest mutually between him and Buffalo, so we'll keep an eye there. I know Philly was interested in him, but then they went with Rashad Penny, which they could still go Jamal, but we'll see what happens there. I know Cincinnati fans are clamoring for them to get Jamal Williams. but I don't think they'd go after him to be their backup running back because he'll cost more than I think they want to spend on a backup running back. But I think it's pretty much us in Buffalo the way everyone else has gone with running backs. Most of them have already got their guys back. But I think it's going to be us. I'll still say a 6 or 7. I'm more confident than not. All right. So I'll go over my weekly article. I did, obviously, like I said before, the post-combine mock draft. So I'll explain the first 5 picks before I get to my 6th pick here. So obviously, Carolina, by the time I posted, had the first overall pick, so I added them in. It was, obviously, I think they're going CJ Stroud. Then I had Houston go Bryce Young from Alabama. I had either Arizona or I had Philly trade up. I had Philly give up 10 and 30 and a mid-round pick to get up to 3 and get Will Anderson. They're losing so much on their defense now that I think they might hold off on that trade and just use the multiple picks to try and build back their defense. But that's what I had there. So Philly, Will Anderson. At 4, I had the Colts go with Will Levis. I still think he's their guy. And then at 5, I had Seattle go Anthony Richardson. I think the idea of having Geno Smith with only one good year to get that massive contract that they can buy out of if he doesn't perform well, I think the idea of getting Anthony Richardson there, learn for a year, and then kind of go from there next year is extremely enticing for Seattle. So that leaves Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter, obviously all the corners. But with the 6th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select Jalen Carter. Andrew, it's all good, man. Thank you for tuning in. So I have Jalen Carter going here. All the stuff that went on at the combine, with the legal issues, I think he's gonna have it all solved by draft time. I think it'll all be cleared up. I just think the run on quarterbacks is what makes him available here. If Seattle doesn't go Anthony Richardson, or if Richardson goes earlier and they don't want Will Levis or whichever quarterback's left, Jalen Carter's absolutely in play there, but they just signed Jaron Reed today to a 2-year deal, so I think they're probably set on D tackle for now. But yeah, if Jalen Carter's here at 6, I feel like this is another scenario where the Lions get in trouble for the 3rd year in a row now for sending their pick in too quick, essentially running to the podium to get their guy. And it could be back-to-back years where you end up with a top 2 to 3 defensive player in the draft. And for a team that desperately needs that defensive help, I think it's a phenomenal pick. I know I will be over the moon if Jalen Carter or Will Anderson or even Tyree Wilson, for that matter, gets selected here, just because I think those 3 are so versatile in what they can do defensively. But I think the pick here is Jalen Carter over Tyree Wilson, just because D tackle is more of a need than edge. Then from 8 to 17, had a run on the offensive lineman for the most part. I had Arizona taking offensive linemen. I had the Titans taking offensive linemen. I had the Packers with an Aaron Rodgers trade. No, they didn't take an offensive lineman. With 13 and 15, they took Michael Mayer and Nolan Smith, the edge from Georgia. Washington went Osiris Torrance, the guard from Florida, although they just got Andrew Wiley from the Chiefs, so I don't know if that's necessarily the move anymore, though that other guard could use help. Went tackle for Pittsburgh. So it sounds like all the corners are available at 18, right? Well, that's not where Detroit goes, because with the 18th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select Bijan Robinson, running back from Texas. As of now, the only two running backs we have under contract are Craig Reynolds and DeAndre Swift. Bijan comes in and is immediately the best running back out of all three. I think if Jamal Williams comes back, then you hold off on this more than likely. I don't think you go Bijan, Swift, and Jamal unless you're going to trade Swift, which I still do think they will. But as of now, until Jamal comes back or that running back position gets addressed, running back is one of our bigger needs, and it's arguably one of two or three only needs on offense. So, I think Bijan Robinson's absolutely in play at 18. Could potentially be in play at 6, if we're being realistic. The Lions, they've said time and time again, and they've proved it, that they're not necessarily going positional need. They're going best player available. Obviously, they're looking at what positions they need improving at, but that's not their main focus. So running back would be a position in need, and Bijan would arguably be the best player available because he's a top 5 talent in this draft. So I think Bijan Robinson to the Lions at 18. Kind of controversial, but that's what I'm going with now. And then the run on corners starts actually from the Bucs right at 19. I had them take a corner. That was obviously before they signed Jamel Dean, so that would probably change. Although Murphy Bunting likely isn't going back, so corners probably still in play there. I had 4 or 5 corners go from 19 to 25. So heavy corner section of the draft. Couple more edge rushers. Another the wide receivers started going off the board. Kind of what you'd expect there. But all the way down at the 48th overall pick, the Lions have Julian and Romeo acquire a set of brothers, and they get another set of brothers here. Because with the 48th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select Noah Sewell, linebacker from Oregon. He's my third linebacker behind Trenton Simpson and Drew Sanders. Neither linebacker was here at this point. And as I stated before, I'm not a big fan of Anzalone. So you get Sewell to play the middle, and you pair him with Malcolm Rodriguez and I guess either Anzalone or Derek Barnes, probably Anzalone based on that contract. And that gives you a pretty solid linebacking trio. I've loved his play style for the last few years. And I think he could be a key contributor on this defense. He's solid in pass coverage too, so I really like him there. And to finish out, I only did 2 rounds here. My later mock drafts will have more rounds. I plan to get all the way to 7 rounds by draft day. Have a full entire mock draft ready to go. But 7 picks later with the 55th overall selection, the Detroit Lions select Deonte Banks, corner from Maryland. This is where you get your guy to develop. He's more than likely gone by now, but he was still on my board when I came to the 55th selection. He had a wicked combine, was very fast, tested very well, broad jump, vertical, all that. But for me, what it was the way he performed in the drills. The ability to flip his hips, move side to side. He was very fluid. I absolutely loved watching his tape from the season at Maryland and at the combine. So I really like Banks. I think if he's there, he's definitely in play at 48. But if he's there at 55, you absolutely go take him. He could be gone in the first round, though. That's how much he's climbed to a lot of people. So we'll have to see what happens there. As per usual, if you want to check out this article or any of the other ones I've done, go to nfcnorthreport.com. And like I said, it'll be posted tomorrow, or it should be posted tomorrow. That's what I was told. Just with free agency and everything going on. Obviously, it's busy and a lot of articles are being published. So I had to give him an extra day or 2 here. All right. Now, for the last section of the show here, who should the Lions still target in free agency? If I'm not mistaken, we have around $8 million to spend. That's taking the money off for the draft picks already. So I went and grabbed 5 names here. 3 of them probably aren't in that price range. You'd probably have to release somebody or renegotiate some contracts, or restructure, I guess would be the right word for that. But one of the guys that is in, definitely in play for around $8 million. It's obvious, running back Jamal Williams. The guy was the heartbeat of the team last year. He was that locker room leader. People just bled into him. Like he really led this team, kind of took over that leadership role. Obviously the emotional leader, the vocal leader, and he kind of embodies what they're looking for. Just people to be able to just be themselves, play football, focus on what's on the field. And Jamal took full ownership of that. He did it to a T. He was unapologetically himself. Obviously, he played very well on the field. He got over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. Broke Barry Sanders' single-season touchdown record for the Lions. I really, really, really hope he comes back. I loved watching him on the field in that Honolulu Blue this year. But we'll have to see. Like I said before, the Bills are very much in play. There's mutual interest there. So we'll have to see what happens there. One of the first guys that's likely out of the price range, I'd say almost absolutely out of the price range, but still one of the best free agents available, defensive back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Unless he's signed somewhere while I'm doing the show here, he is still available. And no, I haven't seen anything saying he's actually signed. So yeah, he's still available. Likely going to cost more than $8 million a year. And oh, sorry, I was just looking at something there. I noticed I put defensive back because he can play safety. He can play that nickel corner. He could probably even play outside corner if you really needed him to. Hasn't really done much of that in the NFL, though. Phenomenal player. Has ties to Aaron Glenn when they were in New Orleans together. But yeah, like I said, I don't think he's a Lion without some sort of restructuring, releases, anything of the sort. But just another player that I would love to see in the Lions uniform. One of these guys I think could be in play for around $8 million. One, I don't think so. Bobby Wagner and Lavonte David. I think you can convince Bobby Wagner to take a bit of a pay cut. Closer to, it'd be like $9 million still. He was making 11 with the Rams. So I don't think $9 million is too crazy, although I don't necessarily think he'd take it. But Lavonte David is probably still more than, he's probably between 12 and 15 million a year. Again, Lavonte, I've been hearing he's having talks with the Bills, the Steelers. Bobby Wagner, I haven't heard too much about yet. He might just be sitting back and seeing what happens with everybody. There's a common theme here, though. The Noah Sewell selection, looking at these guys, I think they need at least one more linebacker. So I would love to get one of these guys, but again, without a restructuring, a release, I'm still looking at Vaitai and Okwara to Romeo Okwara, that is, to either restructure or get released. Saves a good chunk of money. But yeah, without any of that happening, these guys probably don't get signed. One guy that's absolutely in play here, his quarterback's likely leaving for the Big Apple. It's tight end Robert Tonyan. He tore his ACL late in the 2021 season. Wasn't exactly the same player in 2022, but still had his career high in catches with right around 60. Our tight end position is absolutely an open competition right now. You have Brock Wright and Shane Zylstra, who are both tendered restricted free agents. So we're more than likely going to get them back. And then you have 5th-round pick James Mitchell from last year. I think Tonyan could come in and absolutely compete for that starting spot or be that solid second tight end. We'll see if he follows Rodgers to New York. I think that announcement's coming tomorrow. He's supposed to be on the Pat McAfee show, which isn't his typical Tuesday slot. So that's why I think the announcement's coming there. Christopher, thank you for tuning in. Also said Bucks and Levante to meet tomorrow. It wouldn't shock me just the way they've done free agency so far this year. If he does go back, because I mean, you can talk to Andrew about our conversation today. I thought there was no way in hell that Jamel Dean was going back. I did not see any chance that he was in the pewter still, but obviously he's back there. Great signing for them, by the way. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Levante there. Lions sign Montgomery. Oh, no way. Yeah, David Montgomery, former Bears running back, is a Lion. So Jamal Williams is not a Lion. I just saw another thing saying Jamal Williams and the Lions are still far apart on a deal. Several other teams are still in the mix, including the Bills, Bengals, Panthers, and Bears. So Montgomery, I got to see what the price is on him. I hate to say it because I love Jamal Williams. Montgomery is a better running back. He's a more well-rounded, talented running back. I think him and Swift, it's going to be really fun to watch. I am sad to see Jamal go, though. I really hope he gets somewhere that can really utilize him. And I think Buffalo, I had Kareem Hunt pinned there the entire time before the offseason started. He's been like radio silent so far, but Jamal would do wonders there. I'm just trying to see. I'm seeing 3 years, $18 million. So $6 million a year. That's a very solid signing. That would get an A from me. That's not quite A plus, but yeah, I give that an A. If that's the actual, yeah, I'm seeing that in multiple places. 3 years, $18 million. I love that. I love that contract. And this, yeah, I agree, Andrew. Not a bad signing at all. This gives Swift that boot in the ass that he needed, because he's one of those running backs where if he was consistently healthy, he's got the talent to be a borderline elite running back in the NFL. And I know I'm a Lions fan talking about that, but I truly believe that just as a football guy. He's just not been able to stay healthy. That's all it is. You saw the start of the year, he was absolutely dynamic. Multiple 150, 200 yard total scrimmage yard games right off the bat. Was electric, and then he got hurt. Missed 4 or 5 games, came back, and Jamal kind of just took over by that point. He was very solid and pushed Swift out of that starting spot. But this gives Swift every incentive to get rolling, because Montgomery can easily be a number 1 back on a lot of teams in the NFL. I'm really glad he chose to come to Detroit. So that probably means this pick is not happening. Bijan Robinson will not be the pick at 18. Look for maybe linebacker or corner, maybe to finish off that last guard spot there. But yeah, Andrew, I think you definitely did. I know I'm going to go try and get him in quite a few dynasty leagues here. But yeah, very solid signing. And I think this is a pretty good place to end the show here. Not too much else going on. Yeah, I'll end it there. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll be back next week on Tuesday. Obviously, I'll recap what happened from Wednesday until then. Any other moves that happen will obviously be discussed. You can find me here. You can find me Friday nights on the North Sports Dynasty Network with Andrew, Chris, Sid, Kyle. You can catch me Thursday nights on the NFL Edition with Ben, Alec, Johnny, Anthony. You can catch me Saturday mornings with Mr. Sean Spencer of Let's Talk Football. And yeah, it's it's a good start to the offseason. I'm very excited about how this is going. All right, yeah. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you next week.